There we go. We waited a little extra second or two there for this to go live. I am so excited. How is everybody's Wednesday going? Welcome to the middle of the week. We are going to fire things up today because I've just talked to these wonderful ladies for about 30 seconds, and I'm really excited about what we're going to learn today because I'm actually really interested myself in what they do. So the way we're going to do this call, frankly, is just for me to ask them a little bit more about that for my own curiosity. And that's, I think, going to pretty much parallel what everybody else in the group is going to think here. So let me introduce them formally, and then we'll jump in. These are the Challenge Queens, and the Challenge Queens Event Agency offers virtual live event teams to support online leaders and experts to show up strong, powerful, and worry-free. I love the worry-free part. They handle all those background details and distractions, take care of the hosts, make sure they're positioned well and their online communities, and help the host understand their audience so that they start to get higher conversions in whatever it is they're driving their audience towards. So Noelle and Charlene, welcome.
Thank you.
Really, really, really honored to have you join us here today. So first things first, because we've only met recently, what got you two together? What's your history? How did you hone in on challenges? Give us the background.
Yeah, for sure. So we totally fell into this completely and utterly by accident. So about 14 months ago, it was June 2020. Charlene and I have an interior design business here in Nova Scotia, Canada with my husband, and Charlene has a life coaching practice. She lives in BC, Canada, and we were both kind of stuck at home. We couldn't go out and meet clients and do our thing. And so for the first little while, we didn't know each other, but for the first little while, we kind of hung out with our kids and stuff like that, and then both had the urge to start growing our business, working on our business, even though we're still stuck at home. And so we both engaged in a movement-based marketing course called Crush It with Challenges by Pedro Adao. And he encourages people to run challenges, to get the word out there, to get, develop trust with new clients and things like that. So I ran my first challenge on Airbnbs, how to kickstart and run one. And Charlene did one on grief counseling. And then we just kind of met each other in that group, encouraged each other, brainstormed with each other, and really that's how it all developed. And so as we were doing that, we met some other friends in there, and one of them was a pig farmer from Ohio who also had a renovations business and also was a part-time pastor. And so he ran a challenge called Women, Wine, and the Word, and it was over the course of 7 weeks, once a week, and he got 876 women by the end of it in there organically, and was like, help, what am I going to do with these women for 7 weeks, right? Like this is,
wow.
We have 25 to 50 people from his local church and stuff like that. And so Charlene was friends with David and popped in and said, it's okay, we've got this, I'll be your friend, I'll help you, I'll be your admin and things like that. So the buzz on the virtual street was kind of that this was happening, and Charlene had told me, so I wanted to see what the hype was, and I went in there and registered. And as I registered, you guys, it was like a 16-step registration process. And I was like, they're going to lose people before they even get my email part. And so I got on the phone with Charlene and I was like, I can make a Google form for you in like 5 seconds if you want me to do that, and I could just like put a nice graphic to it. And she was like, oh my goodness, how, like there was just a lot of overwhelm over there because all of this was new and happening unexpectedly. And so I hopped on the phone with our friend David, and I met him at that time, and he was like, you're on the team, like come help. So we just showed up. We saw somebody who, was there with a message and wanted to serve people with what he had on his heart, and he needed a support team. And so as new friends, we hopped in there and we helped him do that. And then what happened after that was we helped a couple other friends that we had met in that circle. And then clients started knocking, and we were like, now we're kind of 2 months into this and we've been helping people, and they're like, oh, we hear you help with challenges. And we're like, okay, we better put a price list to this thing. So we did. And we didn't really know what we were doing. And then that led us up. So from June 2020 to about November, end of October, November 2020, we just kind of said yes and kept going. And then at one point, it was actually when we had quite a large event and a bit of a lull from people asking, I kind of like looked virtually at Charlene because we still haven't met each other in person.
Oh my gosh.
I looked at her and I said, hey, like, do you want to do this? Like, is this a direction you want to take? Do I want to do this? Like, what are we doing here? You know? And so we took November and December to really plan things out. And I'll let Charlene pick up there to let you know kind of what we deciphered in that short break.
Awesome. I love this story, most notably that you're at two totally opposite ends of the continent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
hysterical.
Covering coast to coast.
Yeah.
That was, it was quite an unexpected experience because please understand, we came into it with other ideas. You know, I had this background in private investigation and preschool, and I'm rolling forward with all that knowledge and experience and helping more families in the coaching aspect. And Noelle's still running her interior design business. So we're still trying to do those, but Challenge Queens kept pulling on us. And we're like, what is going on? And it's fun. I mean, there's no better job. We get to meet really cool people from around the world.
Oh, wow.
We get to learn different things. Man, we're going to rock any network event that we're at in person coming up. So it's just fun, right? But we're like, yeah, is this really a business? If it is, this is a burnout recipe. If it's just going to be the two of us, we've really got to put some thought into how we're going to do this properly then. So right at that time, as luck would have it, Pete Vargas had his Your Message Matters event, which is fantastic, how you can step into your message and use the power of stages to share that. So we're like, let's go. So we did. And that's where he was talking about, where are you at in your business? Are you in the start bucket, momentum, or scale? And we're like, well, we're already in momentum.
Yeah. By accident, but we're there.
Yeah. Unexpectedly. And it was like, whoa, we've really got to get the foundation. So what is it about us that people are pulling on? And so when we really put our hats on, we realized that it's because of where our hearts are positioned first. Like, we really get people. We're very relationship centered. We're very high touch. And so because of that aspect, the trust is built really quickly because you can tell when people are being genuine and sincere. And we recognize that. We're like, well, we can train people for what we've learned with this unique inside out perspective of events and show them how to recraft their offers and all of this based on what we've learned. But you can't position a heart. So we need to find people who are like us first and then train them. So we developed a moderators mastermind. Yes, we did, with all that extra time that we had.
Yeah, I was going to say.
A moderators mastermind and an in-house certificate program to be able to have
multiple people.
A framework. And check this out, Pam. We came up with the Crown framework, Challenge Queens. I thought that was fun.
Of course you did.
Yeah, we did. It was great.
Of course you did. I love it.
And then we rebranded and launched in January.
Okay.
And presented as a business. And keep in mind, we had not actually talked about our business very much. Like, we had some opportunities to share here and there, but we weren't actively going out for lead gen. People were coming to us because they had seen us they were already having an experience of us. So we've been very blessed up until this point. And to date, we've had our hands in 34 live events over the past 14 months, developed a very unique perspective, unique language, and we just love it so much. We've had our first cohort of moderators go through, so now they're out in the world to help with group engagement, keeping that up, because people kind of mistake. I just want to point this out. You have to know who you're hiring for what role. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, I need a VA to help me with my group, but is the VA the right person? We need people who are highly relational, who understand how to really make it look and feel and be a space where everybody feels welcome, they belong. And there's certain things that you need to know, practices that you need to put in place so that people feel that, and they can have true transformation and real growth within that group. And that's when word starts to spread. And that's what happened to us. So here we are. And at the end of the day, Noelle and I always say, it turns out that the farmer gave us a seed. We didn't even know that we were being put on an assignment to help bring more light and love to the world. And what a blessing, because we get to be a part of that experience. And it's just so life-giving. So Here we are.
The thing I love about these Snack and Learns is that I think everybody can resonate with this story. Something happens somewhere. I love the fact that you think about it as the farmer giving you the seed. You had no idea. You were just leading with love to help this guy out. And now you've got this amazing company. So you're clearly looking for certain types of clients, which I think is great. And the other thing I love about this world now is it's been so much more fun because we can find each other now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how it happens. I don't know how we tripped across each other, but we did. And, you know, we reached out because we saw you on somebody's feed and said, hey, I want to know you guys. And that's the kind of thing that's happening out here that's so much fun now. I love it almost as much as accounting. You know, it's almost. So you said a few things in there that I'd love to ask you some questions about if I can.
Yeah.
Something that surprised me was you said that this guy's challenge was 7 weeks. When I think challenge, I think of these 5-day things that pop up. So there are really very different kinds of challenges.
There are. We do recommend that they are, you know, the standard is 5. They could go 3 days, they could go 7 days, but most of the time we would recommend that they are within the week, or if you flip it on its head and do a summit, just like a very long Saturday type of thing,
Okay.
you know, 6 to 8 hours spent with you, or some are like 4 to 6 hours, because the whole point is so that people get to spend time with you, get to know you, get to like you, get to trust you, and then of course they would want to continue on with you, whether it's as an accountant or whatever your service may be, because they've already spent that time with you. There's an investment of time there, and you've kind of showed them a little bit of what you can do and how you could conduct yourself and carry yourself, and you know, if they'd be a good fit for you and you'd be a good fit for them. And so really that is the whole point behind a challenge. He ran his on every Friday, I would just say, because that was the slot he had to
Got it.
put it in, because he was carrying a lot of other things in his life. We learned from that experience that we probably wouldn't recommend that type of model, but that is what he chose on his own. We didn't guide him to do that. It was just sort of like we came in as an afterthought, you know. So.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So if somebody comes to work with you, like hypothetically, what did they need to come to the table with? Do they have to have the idea for the challenge, or do they have to have, hey, here's where I want to drive people? Or, you know, does somebody come with a blank slate and just say, I need a new way to find leads? What do you expect people to kind of have already done when they come to you?
So what we like is what we've learned now, where people are most successful with us are when they're coming to either hybrid a current business that they have, or take their knowledge and experience and they have some type of framework modality that they want to launch already, because then it's easy to roll into a challenge model. We know that it's going to work. Ideally proven message, product, or service. Then come ready and be open to hearing how it can unfold. So what we'll do is we'll break it down into manageable steps. We'll say, what's your idea of it? And then from there, we'll dive a little bit deeper. Okay, so based on what you've laid out, here's how much an audience may or may not be able to consume.
So you actually help with the curriculum part as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just because sometimes people we're all trained to fire hose, which is great. And one thing that Noelle and I have learned, even in our own training with our own moderators and stuff, is that we may not think that what we're sharing is too much, but to somebody who's new to you, it can be. And if it's too much, they're not going to get real momentum. So if they don't get real momentum and transformation, then they're not going to move forward with you. And the whole idea of the challenge is an introduction to you so that people want to go deeper with you. And every event that you roll, you think of this as a long-term game. Are you going to do this for the year? There's a strategy in doing it for the year. So do you want to retain these people as long-term clients? Are you looking to re-roll the same thing? Or do you want to take people through a process? And then we help speak into that from that point.
Okay.
Yeah. And take them in a logical progression through. And that way they'll continue to come back and grow with you. Noelle?
I love that. So up front, you talk about the what and the how, and then you guys actually run the logistics of the challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a strategy session at the beginning. So you would come with us like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is my ideal client. You come with us with as much information that's spinning around in your brain as you can. And then we just, during the strategy session, we kind of convert whatever you're thinking and what's in your brain and put it into a challenge model or a summit model. And kind of tweak it to what we've seen work successfully through the course of these 34 events that we've had our hands in. And so, so that's sort of what we do. We strategize with people, and then we really act as the pop-in team. And so, you know, we have internal chats, and from the moment, you know, that we are commissioned to be your team, then we are there. So as you're like on your evening walk and you're like, oh, I had this idea, I wonder if that would work. Then you just reach out to us in our internal chat, and we would be there saying like, that could work, but have you ever considered this? And you know, so it really is a team. We're not just there for the live section. We're there to help you plan it, and we're there to help you debrief it, to see how you could repurpose your content that you created while you were live, to see, you know, how you can best fulfill your offer to your ongoing clients. And then, you know, so there are kind of these buffer sections around the live event that's happening.
I love that, because you're not just dropping in and doing a thing, you're dropping in and integrating with all of the pieces before and after. Like, now what do you want this to look like going forward? Is it evergreen? Do you run it periodically? I love that. So is there such a thing as, you know, 3 things that every successful challenge has? You know, or is each one really unique?
So I would say that the content is definitely unique, which is why Charlene said we could show up at any networking event and just talk to everyone, because we've learned so much from so many different online leaders and experts. But as far as deliverables, I would say, you know, you do want to be relational. That is what we promote, and that is what we encourage our leaders to do, is to show up as yourself. We are there to take away the stress of all of those little nuances, and even the emotional stress of being there alone and forgetting something or whatever. We are there to help with that. But really being who you are, relational, authentic, that is our like number one for sure. And then I would say every event should have an offer. So if they so desire, how can people continue with you?
Love it. So that's not left hanging.
Right. So, exactly. And how can they, and we really like to have that kind of worked out before your day one of your challenge. You're like, we can always tweak it depending on who showed up and stuff, but really trying to develop where you'd like to go with your audience after, should they choose to do so. We'd like to have that ironed out as much as we can beforehand, just to alleviate any stress from the host or from you who's showing up and speaking. Oftentimes, if we have a goal of where we're headed, then it adjusts how we're performing or delivering our message anyway, right? So that's why we kind of like to know where we're headed with the offer. Yeah, Charlene, do you have anything to add?
And the third component I would say is make sure you have a team in place, honestly. So whether it's somebody that you know that can support you really strongly, make sure that everybody understands all the ins and outs of what could go wrong. There will be things that go wrong. We're in the digital age. We have oftentimes on the fly had to figure things out when a live stream wouldn't work properly. How do we direct people from 2 different platforms into the same conversation and not lose them and not confuse them? Because we want that experience to be strong and powerful for the host and for all of the members. So we put things in place to make sure that we've got that covered and we anticipate it happening. So make sure that you have a plan in place and the team in place from front to back. There are certain key things that you're going to need. You're going to need somebody. And so if you guys take notes,
we'll mark this point on the thing, minute 1921. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So just the things that you're going to need in place. You can do this with as little as a banner for your event and a pay link. What seems to work a lot better from our experience is to invest in a funnel system. And when you're investing in a funnel system, that may be a new term for some members. It may not be, but essentially it's where people go to pay for your product. And it's like a call to action landing page. And so You can do it through your website too, but set up a page that's designed to educate and invite people in as a lead capture. So get their email, their name, have them come in. You could have an upsell where you're selling them recordings of your event. These things we would talk with you about once you come to us. But you would need somebody who can design that for you. When you're considering your funnel, there are some funnels that come with other platforms too, where you can have a membership. So when you're designing this, are you designing this for an evergreen product? Meaning, are you wanting to have this as a course that can stand alone without your involvement, that people can go and consume, and maybe that leads into other products later on? So consider that, because you're going to need a place to host that. You can host it in a Google Drive or in Dropbox, but if you want to have this monetized after, which I feel is another big aspect of running a challenge to begin with, you're thinking of the end goal in mind. So set yourself up. You're looking at maybe a couple $100 a month, but now you have this membership area. Who's doing that for you? If you don't have that all figured out yet, at least invest in the funnel system, and you can retain that same person probably later to help you with your membership.
Got it.
Do it right away. But consider it. Is this a long-term game? If you want to take people on a journey of introducing you, and you're going to walk them through a process over the year or whatever the case may be, or you want to have multiple different products offered, there are different platforms to consider. And so those kind of things are what we talk about at the end of our event. What do you want to do? But set it up in the front end with that in mind.
Got it.
Am I going to want lots of products? Am I just going to want one? And where am I going to host this afterwards? And
so you're thinking through all this from almost a strategic mindset as you're laying the groundwork and setting it up so that however I answer those questions, we have it to lay out. You want to have that in advance, just because when you're done your challenge, now you're going to take those recordings that you already have on your computer and you're going to upload them somewhere. Where are you uploading them so that people can consume them? And how long is it going to take? Because the participants will ask, when do we have access? Right. Or if they're bundled on the back end of your offer, for example, when will we have access? So you want to have that answer prepared for them. You can have it as quick as you can have access from the Google Drive, or is your funnel person awesome enough to be able to help get that right away so that they can out to them, and here's your link and all that stuff. Exactly. So you just want to have that information. A live event team like Noelle and I is really important, because when you have somebody support you, there's a couple things to consider. It positions you immediately. Instead of Pam going in as Pam, now Pam has a team, a very clear team with a logo supporting you. It's a psychological positioning as well. But not only that, you can literally, this is what our clients have said to us, and my dad was like this too. He used to be a speaker, and he just could not handle the tech. He goes, I just want to show up and talk. And that's how I felt too. I just want, when I'm doing these, I just want to show up and talk. We hire moderators to help us. I don't want to be distracted, because tell me how good this looks in your and you see it all the time. I'm managing the mute button, full-time job, and just running the slides. So you want to be focused, you want to be present, and you want to be available to answer questions as they come up, because when you are, people can feel that you're there. And if they feel that you're there, they'll invest more time with you.
Here's what I'd like to add to what Charlene's saying. It keeps coming up really loudly for me, is just because you can wear all the hats, just because you know how to wear all the hats, like I can design funnels. I know how, but it's a timing issue. Like Charlene and I know how to moderate. It's our business, right? We know how to engage a group and everything. But when we are live, we also hire our moderators to help support us so that our videos can be repurposed, so that I'm very present with what I'm doing. And so there are a lot of different elements in running an online event, and entrepreneurs are very well versed in many things. But I think that, I just want to leave you with that. Just because you can wear all the hats doesn't mean you should be wearing all the hats.
That's such an important message for all of us across the board, right? And it is the hardest thing to learn. Like, even when you know that, it's still hard to not do it. And that's been one of the hardest things to me of being a CEO is, no, I've got this awesome team that quite frankly is going to do it better than I do it, because they've focused on it and they've spent their time on it. And as a host, just the thought of showing up and just talking is such a relief. And that's kind of what you guys manage. So that's great. There are a bunch of things that have to plug in to really make this work.
Mhm.
And one of the questions that I always have in the back of my head is free challenge or paid challenge? Or does it vary? Does it, matter?
So a model that we frequently work with is a free challenge with a low ticket upsell on the front end. So whether that's, some assets that you already have created, like some PDFs bundled with the recording, something like that, right? So that if people can't make it live, they have the security of having the recordings. So we often recommend a low ticket upsell, but a free challenge. If it's an online event where it's like an accelerator program or something that, there's very high end speakers that they would have to typically pay to see anyway, then I would say that could be a ticketed event. I'm not sure I would make that a challenge. It might be like a 1-day event or a 2-day event or something like that. So as far as challenges go, I would say free challenge, low ticket upsell on the front end, and then your offer on the back end of that.
Yeah. I love it. That's because we're seeing all sorts of these now. And listening to you guys, I can now pick out the ones that are done well and the ones that are done just kind of somebody saying, hey, I'm going to run a challenge and here's what I'm going to do. And that's what's most interesting to me. And I find it just feels to me like it's got a bigger advantage of getting you a warmer audience than, I don't know, cold Facebook ads or whatever other things we might be doing, because you have the opportunity to get to know people. You also, every time you run it, get to refine your content, get to listen to additional people's pain points that you might not have been aware of before, and can integrate them into the learning process. I wonder how long it's going to take me to call you guys.
And really, Pam, that's what that's what we as like live event engagement specialists do, right? You're up there, you're really pouring out your heart with your message, and your offer like the back of your hand. But then there are people dropping comments in the chat, right? And so you might not want to be interrupted. You don't want to be interrupted. You don't want your train of thought to be interrupted by those comments, yet you have a high need to have that conversation with that
interaction. Yep.
Yeah.
And so, because you want to get them in the moment, especially if it's anything emotional, like if you're talking about finances, emotions can come up with that. If it's anything where people are, making breakthrough or really relating to your content, you want to respond to them right away. You don't want to leave them hanging for another hour until your live is done.
Yep.
And so that is what our team does. We are there. We want to see your audience make breakthrough, and we want to take them there because they're showing up for a reason. They're showing up because they're interested in your content. And so we not only support the host, we support the audience with how they're feeling and what they're dealing with in their lives. And then we have, so every day that you show up during your challenge, we meet with our hosts half an hour beforehand, and we debrief 15 minutes after. So I might say to you, hey, Susie was having a really hard time today. You might want to reach out to her in the DMs. Or
I love it.
People are suggesting this. Why don't you touch on that tomorrow? So we are your, hands, feet, eyes, ears in the group. And not only during your live event, also we go in an hour every night just to make sure. And we are in two different time zones. Our moderators come in from 2 different time zones so that there's always activity in the group and there's always eyes and ears on your group, and the speaker can just rest well in the evening and not worry about having to respond to the comments.
So you actually manage that as well.
Yeah.
And there's a couple reasons for that too. So number one, it builds trust. We make sure that everybody's seen, heard, and acknowledged. There's always a smaller percentage. You have the amount that show up, register for the event. Then there's a smaller amount that actually show up live, and then a smaller amount that actually do the engagement and the exercises and whatnot. But we want them to do their exercises and if they know that somebody's watching, they're more apt to do it, especially if people are commenting. But if they took the time out of their schedule, there's another person on the other end of this camera. It's somebody who stopped their life. They've left their family to come spend time with you. And they're not doing that for no reason. So we want to honor that with people that are there. And when they're there, we want them to have that transformation. So we'll comment and engage the thought process. And so that they'll be encouraged to do it more. And if they do it more by the end of the week and they got movement in their life because they were doing the activities with you that you know is going to produce a measurable result, why wouldn't they continue with you? And so that's something to consider. And then the other thing was back to team with the, there's a trust factor. There's a favorite part that Noelle and I like when we have a new challenge leader. We're used to wearing all the hats. We're used to doing all the things as entrepreneurs. We want to keep our overhead as low as possible and run the event.
Your CFO's glad to hear that.
Yeah, right. Many of us are like that. And so sometimes people will retain us hesitantly. It's like, oh, I have to do this. I'm sure you can help me, but maybe they've been burned by their team before. I think many of us can relate to that. So they don't, unless they've had an experience of us on other events or they've had high referrals, they don't know what it's like to work with us. But my favorite is it's about day 2. If somebody is like that, I'm like, wait for it. And you see it. It's a physical slump because it's like, I can actually just relax. And then the event actually takes a different turn. It's really cool to see somebody actually feel supported, but see it visually with your eyes. It's probably like my favorite thing, because then from that point, we've now become friends.
Yeah.
It's more than an arrangement. We actually became friends. So we love our clients. Yeah.
I love that story in particular. I think that's what makes my job so joyful is the same thing. When they get that, oh, I don't have to worry about this anymore. It's going to be okay. That's the moment that makes me go back in over and over and over again. So I love that that's what you guys are after, because this stuff's complicated. And, if we try and do it on our own without really having this kind of experience, it can be exhausting. It can be defeating. It can get the wrong people, all of the things. We can put in all the hours, all the time, all the money, and not end up with the result. Whereas if we just redirect this to people who have run 34 of these things in a very different world, all of that base is covered. So that's the huge value that you guys bring that I just love. So one of the things I've been running here on the bottom of the screen is positionyourselfpowerfully.com. Let us know about that. That's an upcoming event, right?
Yeah. So this is, remember how I mentioned you needed some different aspects of team to help you really position yourself powerfully. So what we've done is we've lined up a bunch of speakers. We get some questions on the front end. Now, how am I going to promote this? We don't handle the marketing aspect of it. We will share it in groups where we know you'll get lots of exposure with your audience, especially if they're coaches and consultants. We're a part of many. We have quite a diverse network of people. But the marketing is really on you. So what we try and do is get somebody to help you with branding. So the first day of our challenge, we have a branding expert coming in and just speak about funnels, different funnel systems, and the messaging that goes in there. And they also help with launch strategy as well. And they speak into the offers. It's really kind of like a partner thing with whoever's doing the funnel. You guys can work something out. We speak into it. And with your input as well, it's a collaborative effort to come up with what's going to be the best for this event and be prepared to tweak it just in case your audience actually wants something more. So that's where it's really good having a funnel person. And who are you in your brand? What's the feel and experience you want people to have when they're coming to your event? And how can you set that up on the front end with your messaging and with the look and feel of your funnel so that it's an engaged experience?
And do you guys help with that marketing aspect of it as well? Like how, yeah, okay. So that's something you need to be prepared to.
Which is why we're putting on this challenge so that we can. So the 5 days are that's why it's called Position Yourself Powerfully, is to help our audience understand where they should be going, where they should be advertising, how they can organically get the word out there, and the different elements we suggest that you do in your sales and marketing strategy before an event. And we're there holding your hand, and also, as we're your team, we can make these suggestions, but we don't actually do the marketing.
Got it. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic that you all are doing this challenge, because then people can fill in their own pieces around it. So if anybody is, whether you're watching on replay or live, if anybody's thinking about doing this, I'm going to actually drop it in the comments as well. If you're thinking about doing a challenge, make sure that you check this out, because as you just heard, I just heard anyway, as we go to do it, like if you're thinking you're just going to do it yourself and throw it out there, it's not going to stick, hit, or meet your objectives. But if you're going to come and get help with it, there's some things you really need to do in addition to just getting help with it. And this sounds like it fills in all those gaps.
It does.
Yeah, so we have like really quick, I'm like the bullet point girl. So I'll just like bullet through what we're going to kind of teach at that challenge. So positioning yourself through branding. We have a branding expert who has been trained and works at Funnel Gorgeous. I don't know if you've heard Funnel Gorgeous, very up and coming with Julie and Kathy. So she's a master marketer and is known as the Funnel Alchemist. So we're really excited to have her. She's going to come and speak about positioning your branding. Okay. And then we have position yourself online through video. We have the Come Alive on camera expert, Lisa Manette, who used to be on Tony Robbins' support team. She was trained and also was on the team for Roger Love, who is like the voice coach out there. And he works with celebrities. So we have Lisa Manette coming to talk about what we see a lot is people just have imposter syndrome. They're afraid to hit that live button. All of the things come flooding into your head before you do that. We've all been there before, Pam. I don't know if you can relate, but I believe we've all been there before.
Absolutely.
However much we're willing to admit it. So Lisa is amazing, and she's there to kind of talk us through that and give us tips on increasing our confidence in going live. And then we have Blair Bryant Nichols, who I think you know, Pam, who is coming from Advance Your Reach, and he's going to talk about the power of stages and how you can get out there and do some organic marketing, on virtual stages like this one here or on physical stages. And then we have us. We're going to talk about the power of team, kind of like we did today, but we'll really unpack that for you and talk about the different elements of team that you should be considering before an event. And then we also have somebody talking about the power of investing in yourself and your business, and that is Lisa Zelenak. She's coming. She's worked with KBB, she's worked with Advance Your Reach, and she's worked with Self-Publishing School, who's Chandler Bolt's self-publishing.
Okay.
And so she's the director of sales there, and she has just been she's an amazing coach for people and really looks at why people should be investing in themselves on a continual basis or in their business, however you want to frame that for yourself. But oftentimes what we've been seeing, Charlene and I, is that people opt in and buy a golden ticket from a mentor, but then feel like that's kind of the end of their investment. But really, you're investing in a mentor, and then there are subsequent investments that need to happen, whether it's in a funnel or in a team or in, whatever hat you don't wear well, you need to continue to invest. So she's going to talk a little bit about that and just the power of growth within investing in your business and in yourself. And so we are super excited about these speakers and about just running it and the audience that's coming. And so you guys register there today, positionyourselfpowerfully.com. And it's a super simple registration form, just like email, name, come on in. It'll show you where to go and the Zoom link. So you can come on.
16 steps to this one?
No.
I'm definitely going to be hanging out with you guys during that challenge. This is the cool thing about this. It's not just how to do a challenge. We get to watch how you do a challenge at the same time, the ultimate meta experience. So that is so cool. Very good. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I've got a lot to think about. I'm definitely going to be at the challenge myself. I hope to see some of you folks here, whether you're watching live or on replay. Let us know. Any questions you have, drop them in here, and I'll make sure that I get them positioned or get them back out to get some answers for us. So you guys, I can't thank you enough. This has been delightful.
Oh, thank you for having us, Pam. We really appreciate it.
Yes, this has been fun. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who spent time with us today. We really appreciate you coming and taking time out of your schedule to spend time with us. We do have a free gift for you too. We're going to circle back around and drop it in the chat for you. Or somebody here will drop a link.
Yep, I'll take care of that.
Yeah, and it's for a quarterly planner. We plan by the quarter, And we have had a lot of growth because of that this year. So that's been super fun. We hope it supports you in your business, and reach out to us if you have any questions. We hope to see you at the event.
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys. Everybody have a great Wednesday and a great back half of the week. And we'll see you here again on the next Snack and Learn. Take care, everybody.
Bye.